Why do people in real life act like it's so insane to be pro-union? Years and years of anti-union propaganda. Sounds like you are talking to a certain group of people. Most my friends and I are all pro-union. Do you live in the southern US? If so, you're looking at the product of years of targeted propaganda. Don't live in the southern US? Weird, but probably the same thing. Unions have their pros and cons, so people's opinions will vary by situation and their experiences with them. There are many people that lived through the 70s when unions were at their most powerful. I am one of them. Strikes were going on everywhere, and the economy was plummeting. Now, was all this the fault of the unions? I'm not entirely sure, but it didn't look good. Now add to this all the organized crime connections with unions back then. Now that one might depend on your definition of people. More than 70% of Americans support the idea of labor unions. Because depending on the union, it could either be a very helpful organization or be the worst thing to have ever existed. It depends on what you do. I work for a government. I'm in a union. It's fine. The thing with unions is we all get treated the same. That's fair for job types where everybody does more or less the same thing about as competently as everybody else. Or in jobs where the pay is really low. If what you have to offer is something really valuable and you're a hot shot at it, a star in the tech world, why would you want to get paid the same as everybody else? You're going to want to negotiate a higher wage for yourself. It's silly to be anti-union, but it's equally ridiculous to think everyone should want to be in one. 75 years of anti-union propaganda. It's only in the last 10 years that unions have become popular in larger numbers among non-union members. I think it's mostly employers that are against unions. Union-busting propaganda. In all my years I've learned one thing. It's surprisingly easy to make people think that something obviously good for them is bad. Unions give better pay and healthcare, but you bring up any hint of union dues and suddenly everyone is staunchly anti-union. Never mind the fact the pay raises would easily cover it and the ability to be treated as a human being instead of another cog in a corporate machine is worth every penny. Everyone at my work is pro-union until push comes to shove and they realize they'd have to pay dues and take a risk to unionize. Then everyone is real quiet. Effective brainwashing with contagious ignorance of the populace. A capitalist billionaire's wet dream. This is why most families are financially struggling here. Because propaganda works really well in America. Because they're not in one. Hang out with a few truckers, welders, or police officers. The only union job I've ever had was UFCW grocery, and it was a terrible experience. I made minimum wage with no benefits, but was still required to pay dues, which meant I was making below minimum. I lasted about 2 years at that job before I left for greener pastures. The comments here that categorize unions are funny. I belong to a machinist union that is 90% conservative. You see the deductions for dues on your earnings. You don't see the benefits of a union explicitly stated in your earnings. Anti-union propaganda is massive and victories are often considerable compromises or even outright defeats with bells and whistles. The recent John Deere strike comes to mind. Stratified pay based on legacy. Demands not met and promised to be heard next negotiation cycle. Years away. IIRC. Which blows my mind since those same people tend to be pro-police never getting in trouble for screwing up. Mainly because LF their union.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.